Hello and welcome to MTG Reads. I'm DP, author, MTG fan and voracious reader, here to update you on some of the best reads on Magic the Gathering that have popped out over the last week or so. It's been quite a busy week. There were 154 articles that I found in various places around, and now that we've got rid of the Core 21 and Jumpstart pre-releases, there's actually a much broader range of articles that are out there. This has been quite good, but they do very much vary in quality. So what I've really focused on this week is articles that are very, very strong in that they have done some independent research or study, they've drawn on something, done some analysis on that, and then present that evidenced analysis to us. First out of the gate in that sort of a theme is Gianluca Aicardi over at Pure MTGO. Now, Gianluca has taken a look at the tribes that are in M21, some of which are literally only one card strong, but he's taking a look at what the cards are and how that's going to impact those tribes for viability within Standard over the coming year. Good piece of analysis there. Also from some good analysis from Toma Abramovici over at MTG Goldfish. Toma takes the prize for being the first person to be mentioned twice on MTG Reads. This time what he's done is an article looking at the cards that cost nothing to cast. This was triggered by the Commander 20 cards, the cycle of cards that came out in Commander 20 packs, and he was looking at similar cards that are under $5 a piece. Good piece of analysis on which cards to buy and why. Meanwhile, Sheldon Menery over at Star City Games has taken the opportunity to look at the rules change that the rules committee that he heads up for Commander made to the Death Triggers rule. He combines that with cards from the Commander 20 deck and from Core 21 to build a deck looking at how those triggers now work and examining them. Now, to be fair, this article came out over a week ago, but it was hidden behind the Star City Games delay wall. It has now, in the last week, popped out from behind that delay wall and is available to everybody, which is why it's included here. Meanwhile, Cassie LaBelle over at TCG Player is examining the impact of reprints. Now, there's been a lot of talk about reprints lately, whether that's the things like Oracle of Muldiar in Jumpstart, whether it's the Grim Tutor in Core 21, whether that was reprints in Commander 20 products, or even back as far as the Theros and Enlightened Tutor. What Cassie is doing, though, is taking a look at it from the other side of the argument of what is the impact of people who have built up a collection and have got these cards in. It's a really well articulated piece with lots and lots of evidence, lots and lots of research and analysis, and is very, very strong, and even stronger if you happen to be a graph person like myself. Meanwhile, my pick of the week is by Jay Annelli over at coolstuff.ing. What Jay often does is take a look at the lore of MTG, and in this case he has taken inspiration from the M21 release with Teferi focus and the various characters, the single colour characters that are in those, the monocolour characters in M21, all relate to the Teferi story, and Jay covers that and explains it to us by taking a look at the Mirage War. Now, this wasn't available as a book, it's on various websites, many of which have been taken down, and Jay does an excellent detective job of not only giving us a summary of the story, but actually has managed to find out hidden resources on the internet so that you can go and read the story in full should you wish to do so. Excellent piece of detective work, great piece of research, and well worth pick of the week. Following Jay's lead and taking inspiration from the Teferi story of M21, it's a good way for us to look for a read in the archives. And for that, let's pick a good Teferi story. Now, there are a number of options. We could take Time Spiral, which is down the end of Teferi's life, or we could take Time Stream, which is right at the start when he is, frankly, an immature teenager. But if you were going to pick one pivotal moment of Teferi's life, it would have to be in the book Invasion by J. Robert King. In that book, it's the finally realizing the invasion that everybody has been preparing for. Phyrexia is invading Dominaria. And in that book, what happens is Urza and Teferi are defending Zalfir, Teferi's homeland. New Phyrexia is opening up portals. Phyrexia is opening up portals galore. Urza is shutting them down. And Teferi uses that energy to phase out Zalfir and the whole continent, disappearing it into time so that it is safe from the invasion. In essence, not only does he run away from the fight, he takes his whole continent with him. That's very much a pivotal point in Teferi's story, and therefore well worth looking at this book. But it is the sort of the crunch point of a story that had been building for quite a while. So if you've not read any of the previous books, it's probably not the best place to start, because it's very much like reading the whole Planeswalker recent story, by starting of War at the Spark and ignoring all of the build-up that got us there through Amonkhet and the like. So it may not be the ideal place, but it certainly is a very good book containing the pivotal Teferi point. Now, how is that book? How good is it? Well, let's start with the obvious. J. Robert King is a good writer. He wrote a lot of the books of this era and is a very good, solid writer. But the book suffers very much like the War of the Spark thing does in reality from Wizards trying to have too much and wrap too much into it. There'd been a huge build-up of this story. The threat of Phyrexia had been coming for quite some time. There was a lot of built-up anticipation for the book. There were an awful lot of characters to be covered, awful lot of locations to be done. And J. Robert King goes through those almost like it's a checklist. There you get characters popping in, popping out, doing things, disappearing. There is very little character development apart from in the character of Barin, but most other characters tend to suffer, and the pace of it all is a bit of a rush through. It's not ideal. It is ironic that for a story that features Teferi's single most important point, that the author isn't given the time or the space to actually develop the story properly. So it begs the question, would I recommend the book to you? And the answer is yes, it is worth a read. I just wouldn't recommend you reading it as a standalone novel. It is worth reading. It's less than $4 for the ebook. If you can pick it up in a charity shop, it's probably only about 50 cents for the paperback. And it is definitely worth reading at that sort of price if you read it as part of the series of the story. It might be the first book of the invasion cycle. There was Invasion, there was Plane Shift, and there was Apocalypse. Those are worth reading. But before that, I suggest you read, as a prequel, The Thran. All four of those books are by J. Robert King. All of them have the good theme and the build for you, and that will carry you nicely through the story of explaining the whole Phyrexia invasion of Dominaria. Definitely worth a read and highly recommended in that scope. So that was something from the archives. What about something coming up? Well, as I warned previously last week, we're still waiting an announcement of the inevitable novella that's going to come with Zendikar, so there's nothing new. The next book that comes out will be on 27th of October, which is the visual history book by Jay Annelli, who's pick of the week here. And you'll see from the research that Jay's done in the article that you can see why I've got such high hopes for the Legends. But that's it for now. Happy reading, and I'll talk to you soon.